The views and opinions of this program are those of the host, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading.
For over 95 years, we've set the bar. Power, we restored it. Protection, we reinvented it. Record yields, we redefined it. If there's one thing we know at FS, it's that just because something hasn't been done, doesn't mean it can't be done. We're never satisfied unless we take your farming operation to the next level. Run your equipment at peak efficiency and bust the bins this season. Visit fssystem.com.
And welcome to Market Talk as we are broadcasting live from the Farm Progress Show, day number 1 in Decatur, Illinois. Happy to be here. Beautiful weather on the show grounds for day number 1, and happy to have you along for the ride with us on Market Talk today. I'm your host, Jesse Allen, excited for today's show. We are going to be visiting with our friends at Agoro Carbon Alliance here throughout the show today, learning more about the ag carbon market and how they can help you on your operation. So looking forward to the discussion we're going to have here today. Also coming up here in segment 3, we are going to talk markets on the show. Sam Taylor with Rabobank going to join us and talk about some of the volatility we've seen in the market. A down day today ended up turning into a risk-off kind of trade on Tuesday. We're going to discuss that and more, some of the global picture in the markets coming up here a little bit later in the show. Joining me first up, though, from Agoro Carbon Alliance. I've talked to him before. It's been a little while. Clay Creighton is with me. Clay, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you too, Jesse.
Thank you for being with us here today. And as I was mentioning, beautiful weather, a lot better than it was last week for many folks, right, Clay?
Absolutely. Yeah, North Iowa didn't even want to go outside.
Yeah, when you get 110 plus a heat index 120, 125, I'm a no-go on that. That's for sure. Give me the AC and let me hang out inside.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's get caught up with Agoro Carbon. And just for starters, what is unique about your work in the ag carbon market? Tell us more about who is Agoro Carbon, Clay.
Yeah, so with Agoro Carbon, what differentiates us a lot is we have a range of pasture offering and a row crop offering, and we have various payment options available to ranchers and farmers. So I always like to say we can kind of personalize our program more to the farmer and rancher rather than the rancher and farmer working so hard to get into our program. So we really try and work the program around that and what's going on in their operation.
Well, and I think about that customization, too, because we've talked about this before. Not every farm is the same. You could go across the road, and the farm is going to be different. So for you guys to go in there and be able to develop a program, come up with a contract, et cetera, it's really important to have that customization available, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Even on the same operation, Grandma's East Farm compared to, Uncle John's North can be completely different. Where did I start cover cropping versus where am I starting strip tilling? So, yeah.
It makes it interesting. Well, I know you handle a lot with carbon contracts, so let's talk about that. Let's dive into that a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Thinking about, carbon contracts, I know there's questions. A lot of growers are wondering, how long is the term? What are all the terms in the contract? So what are some common questions that you hear? Those are the ones I've heard. What are some common questions you hear when it comes to carbon contracts, Clay?
Yeah, well, the main one obviously is length. How long am I in this for? What did I sign up myself for? And then is there a way for me to get out if necessary? If I happen to lose this rented acres, this lease ground, what happens here? Or, if I want to change practices or if I want to even add acreage too, do I have to sign a whole other contract for that or can we do an amendment, like things like that? So we really try and be receptive to that also. And if there's an idea behind adding practices in the future or adding on acres in the future under the same practices, we try and do our best to adapt the contract with that and make it as simple for the farmer as we can.
And that simplicity, I think, because at the end of the day, you want something. You don't want something to be hard, right? You want something to be easily, brought into the operation, something that farmers can do in some cases without thinking about it, right, Clay?
Right. Yeah, we try and simplify it as much as possible. Like I always think, like in my role, I need to uncloud the carbon market a little bit. Simplify it and be like, this section here in the contract, they're really saying this, like that too, and this is what this really means. Because
a lot of the work you guys are doing, you mentioned uncloud, the carbon market. A lot of the work you guys are doing at Agoro is new. I mean, this has really been a new hot topic in the last 5 years, I would say, here, Clay. I mean, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. It's been a hot topic in the last 5 years, and I've been in this space for about 4.5 now, which seems a little crazy. Looking back at it, started off as an agronomist first and working my way into sales and stuff like that. So I think the only way forward is going to be up with these markets. I think they're getting more solidified. I think that the companies that have been doing it right and have the right offerings are here to stay. And it's only going to continue to grow.
Thinking about contracts, obviously farmers want to know the payment side of that. They want to know how do they get paid through their contract, et cetera. So what types of payment options are open to Agoro Carbon and folks who get into a contract with you guys?
Yep, we have 2 different payment options that they can either pick from exclusively or they can combine on their operation too, depending on what they're looking for. Each has an advantage and disadvantage, not disadvantage, but benefits to what they're looking for.
Sure.
Option A is a little bit more straightforward. Essentially, they enroll, and then you're paid in year 5 and 10 when that credit is sold from the farmer. And typically, the payment would be a little bit larger, and there's also a higher per ton per acre carbon price with option A right now. The added benefit of that not only is the higher price, but also since there's no forward payments being made in the beginning, that if you happen to lose a piece of land or sell a piece of land or do this and that, it's a lot simpler to amend that contract off the bat.
Do you see farmers going for one option over the other right now, or not necessarily?
I would say it's more situationally dependent.
Okay.
Like if somebody's just starting into cover crops or things like that, they might go with option B with more of the forward payment. Like, hey, I want the seed, it's a little expensive, a little bit of help with it would be nice, or application costs. Or if somebody's already budgeted for cover crops or just did it last year in our look back period, and they're like, well, let's just ride it out and hope for the best in option A and hope this market really takes off.
We're talking with Clay Creighton, Strategic Accounts Manager for Agoro Carbon Alliance. And Clay, just thinking about what's your favorite comment, question, things that you've heard from farmers about the ag carbon market and the work you guys do at Agoro?
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite comments from a farmer first, like, well, I don't qualify for that. And I'm like, are you sure? Like that? Because I'm like, don't self-disqualify yourself. So that's my favorite thing to do is don't self-disqualify yourself. Let's dive deep and figure out, okay, what have you done or what are you willing to do? And can you qualify for our program? So
yeah, it's, you don't rule yourself out immediately. Mm-hmm. Like, let's ask some questions first and find out if you're eligible to take part. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Anything else contract-wise you want folks to know before we run out of time and take a break real quick?
Contract-wise, just like I said, they really focus on, with our program individually, like the different options. Like we really try and personalize it for what you're looking for and what's going on. And if you need more information, agorocarbon.com. And we have an awesome new carbon calculator on there that helps give a good scope for like a broad spectrum quote off the bat and then puts you in touch with somebody like me.
And that carbon calculator, I know we'll probably touch on that more as we go through the show. That's some really neat technology you guys have come up with there on the website.
Absolutely. It's been a game changer recently, especially for growers, just to be able to do it off the website. Rather than me calculating an Excel spreadsheet behind closed doors. So it's a lot nicer, cleaner, and it's on the fast track. So it's been a great tool to use.
Yeah, they can get a couple quick numbers figured out and kind of have some groundwork laid out and then come have a conversation with you. That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly.
Clay, appreciate the time. I think we might talk to you a little bit later as well here on the show. But for now, we'll let you off the mic. Thanks for joining us here today, and we'll talk to you here in just a little bit.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jesse.
Clay Creighton with Agoro Carbon Alliance joining us here today on Market Talk. We're live at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, and we are going to be coming up talking more with our friends at Agoro Carbon Alliance here in just a little bit. Also, we are going to be talking markets with Sam Taylor from Rabobank. That's all on the way as we continue with more Market Talk live from the Farm Progress Show right after this. And welcome back here to Market Talk live from the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, day number 1. Jesse Allen back with you here. We are with our friends at Agoro Carbon Alliance in the Varied Industries tent. 9410 is their booth. They're right inside the door off Central Progress Street. You can't miss us. Come on by, say hi if you're going to be at the show here the next couple of days and enjoying the beautiful weather, of course. And, with the Varied Industries tent this year, they have the new asphalt, the soy-based asphalt in here. Really cool piece of the Farm Progress Show. I think that's just another piece of sustainability, and that's what we're talking about today is the carbon market. That's part of sustainability. Joining me now, Mark Warner with Agoro Carbon Alliance. Mark, it's good to catch up with you again, buddy. How are you?
Very good. You as well.
Well, thanks for the time. And, we were talking to Clay in the first segment a little bit about contracts and just some of those ins and outs of what you guys do at Agoro Carbon. But I'd like to just, pick your brain and talk a little bit more about the farmer perspective, the agronomy perspective. I mean, Thinking about all the practices that are available to farmers, what are some of the ones you talk about a lot? What do you recommend? Let's go through a few of those for us, Mark.
Yeah, so I like to break our practices into, two buckets. Not saying that we can't sign up into both buckets, but we definitely start in two criteria. And the first being the row crop side of things, and those practice changes are reduced tillage, and that can be depth of tillage, number of passes, even implement type. Also moving to no tillage whatsoever. That's obviously another practice change. Cover crops is in there as well as nitrogen reduction, and kind of lastly on the row crop side of things, one that I'm really proud of to finally be able to offer is what we call legume additionality, and that's for legacy cover croppers and no-tillers that have been doing this for a while. That gives them an option to play in the market as well. So that kind of wraps up the row crop side of things as they sit today. And we also have a range and pasture offering where we can sign ranchers up for practices such as improved grazing, adding paddocks and water sources and things of that nature, as well as fertilization and seeding on their pastures. So we have a diverse offering as far as our practices, and hopefully more to come in the future as this market continues to mature.
Let's pick through the row crop side and the range and pasture a little bit more. I know you mentioned some of those legacy cover croppers. You guys are offering things with that now. I think about both cover crops and no-till, both two practices that are widely being used now. It's taken a little while, but starting to really see some of the benefits, some of the research of using both of those types of programs on operations, aren't we, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm a first-generation farmer in Central Ohio, and we utilize cover crops and no-till on our acres in Ohio, so I can definitely relate when we come across an individual who has been no-tilling for a period of time. Just today I had a gentleman come up to the booth that had been no-tilling for 35 years, and I can relate to that, and it's nice to be able to have an option now with legume additionality that kind of opens the envelope for growers that have had the foresight decades ago to implement some of these conservation practice changes before they were as mainstream as they are today. So we're really proud to bring some innovative solutions to this market and hopefully expand upon that into the future.
About the range and pasture side, I think about some of our ranchers out in the West, had quite a few years there of drought and issues with that. Now starting to get some of that range and pasture land regrown and back to where it should be, and so I feel like that's a great opportunity for some folks to get involved with you guys here at Agoro.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had a really great success signing growers and ranchers in the West up with pasture land and management options there, and like you said, we've seen some really phenomenal moisture out west too, which is really going to help with carbon sequestration and success in our program. So really thankful for that, and when they combine that with our practices like fertilization and seeding, we see an increase in biomass that in the end results in carbon sequestration, which is what we want and when we generate product. So really blessed and really happy to have that as part of our portfolio.
We're talking with Mark Warner from Agoro Carbon Alliance here on Market Talk today at the Farm Progress Show. And obviously that carbon sequestration, a lot of questions, a lot of folks still trying to understand the ins and outs of this and how it can benefit them. But I think overall, you just think about the health of our environment and more. There's a lot of great benefits. It's more so a bit about education, I think, the last few years, hasn't it, Mark?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And that's some of the biggest misconceptions, I would say. First and foremost, it's easy for the mind to quickly turn political when we look at some of these things. And we are a private industry. This isn't tied to any political sides of the industry. So that's probably one of the most common misconceptions I see, but yeah, we work with private enterprise. This is a voluntary carbon market, and it's very independent.
What are some other common misconceptions you've heard about the ag carbon market? Are there other things that stand out to you, or other questions you hear when you talk to growers across the country that maybe you have to stop and say, well, hey, that's not quite true?
Yeah, there's some things going on right now about pipelines and things like that, and that's not us. We're working in a private market to sequester carbon into the soil naturally and put it in the soil in the form of organic matter and soil organic carbon, which as a result makes your farm more resilient and your soil's healthier, and that's what we're in the business of doing. So
yeah. And I think that's a good distinction to make because you think the pipeline side is a very hot topic, very divisive issue currently,
Absolutely.
whereas you guys are doing something totally on the opposite end of the spectrum here in the carbon market. That's a very important distinction, I think, to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And for somebody like myself who's done some of these practices firsthand and seen what they can do, it's a long-term investment to see your soils change, and I really feel like it's a win-win. You can get the long-term benefit from increasing organic matter in your soils and also sequester carbon and make some extra income from your operation on the side. So really exciting for me, coming from a diverse ag background with selling multiple inputs from multiple different companies, and I really enjoy being on this side of the business where I get to promote agronomics that I believe to be really good for our soils and good for our environment and good for sustainability, but also add profitability to the farmer. It's really a great model, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Mark, in your years now working with Agoro Carbon Alliance, any success stories that stand out to you that would be a good example for folks who are listening in and wondering about working with you guys? Did anything stand out to you, top of mind?
Yeah, quite a few. One of the real blessings of this job is I've been able to meet and work with growers and get to know growers all over the country, and I've seen a broad difference in environments where our practices can work in a lot of different environments. So, you have areas of the country that receive 5 to 10 inches of rain a year to areas that get 40 inches of rain a year, and the concepts hold true in all of these different geographies, and that's really exciting to me. I really enjoy meeting growers in different geographies and just seeing how things work and differentiate, but the concept works as a whole all over.
And I think about you mentioned different geographies, and we talked about this with Clay in the first segment, how we can kind of customize plans for each operation, and it's not something that we're just talking, it's only in the Midwest or it's only in the plains out in the Rockies or whatnot. This is something that you guys are able to work across such a wide geography here across the U.S. Mark.
Absolutely, yeah. We have agronomists from Ohio all the way to Oregon, from North Dakota to Texas. We really have a diverse team. I myself, I work on the post side of the contract, and what that means is I'm working with growers throughout the 10 years they are signed up with us on an annual basis, even semi-annual or multiple times a year basis, to talk to them about what's working, what's not working, and help them with solutions. Really proud of the team we have. We have a great group of people with a broad knowledge base that can really help people strive as they navigate through these carbon markets.
And I love that aspect too. You guys have agronomists on staff. You guys have a wide staff of people that are experts in every segment of the process with Agoro. And as you mentioned, from North Dakota to Texas, you guys have folks across the country that really work together as a team. And it's not just something where you sign a contract and that's it, see you in 10 years. You guys work with farmers throughout that contract, Mark.
Yep, absolutely. That's been crucial for us, and being a differentiator in this market is this market is so much in its infancy, and we want to get it right. We want to make sure we work with them and guide them through the process, and like you said, educate. It changes rapidly. Not to say it's not stable. It's a very stable market, and we have some good supporters we work with. But yeah, we have a good team that keeps in touch with our growers and works with them throughout the contract and ensures their success, helps them with their data collection and management, and also any decisions they may have. I bounce ideas off some of my customers. They call me and we talk about innovative ideas and things we might be able to do in the future, and that's exciting for me. People thinking outside the box to find new solutions to problems.
Mark, if growers want to learn more, they can't make it to the Farm Progress Show, they want to talk to you guys, though, at Agoro Carbon Alliance, what's the best way?
Yeah, get on our website and sign up there for information, and we can be in touch. Like I said, we have local individuals that would love to meet with you in person, even to talk about the possibilities of working with us. We'd love to talk to you.
AgoroCarbon.com, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
AgoroCarbon.com is where you can find more information if you can't make it here to the Farm Progress Show. Mark Warner, appreciate the time. We might get you back up here in just a few minutes, so stick around, but thanks for now. We appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jesse.
All right, coming up next here on Market Talk, we're going to talk markets with Sam Taylor from Rabobank. That's next here as we continue for the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. And welcome back to Market Talk here as we are getting ready to wrap up day number 1 from the Farm Progress Show. Jesse Allen back with you. Markets on Tuesday were a bit under pressure. Chicago, Kansas City wheat led us lower on the day Tuesday with some double-digit losses. Novi beans back down around that 1392 level. December corn, that 480 level. So watching some support areas there. Mixed day in cattle and hogs. Overall, just kind of a quiet day. Just got to turn risk off with little fresh news to kind of feed the bull. So there's your 30-second snapshot of how the market's traded on Tuesday. Joining me now again from Agoro Carbon Alliance, Mark Warner is back with me. And Mark, let's talk a little bit about verification. How does that play in? What exactly does verification mean when it comes to working with you guys at Agoro Carbon Alliance?
Yeah, so that's one area where we differentiate from maybe some other carbon markets that have gone in the past. Carbon markets have been around for a while, but our way of attacking that is working through a third-party verification process where basically, and we use a company called Vera, that's who we work with on this process, and they, for lack of a better term, just audit our information. So we work with farmers to gather their data and information, and then this third-party verifier goes through that information and make sure that information carries weight. And at the end of our contract at 5 and 10 years, we can issue these carbon credits, and our buyers can have peace of mind that that offset credit has weight. The practice change really happened. That carbon dioxide was actually stored in the soil, actually sequestered, and that offset credit really has weight. There's been some carbon markets that haven't gone through that process and generate the idea of a credit, and there's a market for that as well. But our aspirations are really to generate a high quality carbon credit that'll draw a premium because the buyer can have peace of mind that the offset credit really has some weight behind it.
Well, and you mentioned collecting farmers' data, and I think that's another point that we want to talk about. It's not something where you guys are collecting this data and selling it to somebody necessarily.
Correct.
You guys are retaining that. It's private information, so there's no worries in that aspect, right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that can be a sticky point for some, or a point of that people aren't looking forward to. But we work with our farmers throughout our project and throughout the contract to get all that information from them. So in our model, we look for 3 years of historical information. So we're looking for tillage and plant harvest, things of that sort. And then we collect annual data throughout the contract to show the practice change and what's going on those acres. And like I said, we have a team that works with that individual on the historical when they sign up, as well as meeting with them throughout the year and over the years to collect and enter that data. That's one area we differentiate as well. We don't require that on our growers to enter it on their own half. That's not their burden. They have to have that information. We need to collect it from them, but we're going to work with them to collect it and make it as easy as possible on them to participate with us in our program.
That's what it's all about, is making it as easy as possible as you guys can with all the verification and collecting their data and everything. We talked about earlier all the different practices and more, and just overall the ease of working with you guys and having you guys there step by step. I think it's just so important to reiterate that again, Mark.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about soil health as well. I want to touch on that just a minute. I mean, thinking about the carbon market and its benefits to soil health. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I often use the phrase that it's kind of amazing we're as far as we are in the agriculture industry and know so little about what's going on underneath the soil surface. And it's really an exciting time to be in agriculture when it comes to soil health, because it's really a buzzword right now. A lot of people are starting to show some interest of what's going on with their soils. I think erosion and degradation, loss of organic matter are really starting to become more prevalent and something that people are paying attention to, and they're wanting to find solutions of how to revert that and eliminate that problem. So that's something where the carbon market, where the carbon market itself kind of coincides hand in hand with improving your soil health. These practices that we're promoting and qualify growers with additionality to partake in our markets are soil health conservation practices that have been adopted in areas of the country over decades and decades and decades. So they're tried and true. They're proven. We know that we can maintain and build organic matter and aggregate stability and other benefits, water infiltration, water holding capacity, things like that all really go hand in hand with the conservation practices we promote. And at the end of the day, then we can tie that in with a carbon program and bring some other revenue in as well. So it's truly a win-win for the grower, and it's really fun to promote and be a part of the market.
I want to circle back. You mentioned this earlier, the legume additionality benefits. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's a very key piece we want to make sure we mention again as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So for an individual who's been no-tilling, cover cropping, but maybe using a single species or a non-legume including mix, they can now qualify for a carbon program payment with us by adding legumes into their mix. And that really comes into our previous topic there of soil health. Our soils like diversity, no different than us. A diverse diet, our soils are the same way. The more things we can have growing in that soil, the longer we can have a living root growing in that soil, the more benefit and impactful these practices are going to have in increasing our soil health. And legumes in particular are really exciting to me and to use on my own operation, because we really can fix a lot of nitrogen out of the atmosphere by using these legumes and really get our nitrogen use efficiencies down and have a whole lot of benefits and really delivering a great crop by utilizing some of these practices. So legume addition's something that's new for us, but something we're really excited about. And me personally, I'm really excited about it to spread the word and help growers be more efficient and help improve their soil health by adopting that practice.
Well, Mark, as we wrap up here today, if growers want to learn more, maybe they can't stop here at the Farm Progress Show. They're listening to us, though. I know you guys have a great website. The Carbon Calculator is there. You guys also have a podcast, too, the Carbon Farming Podcast. A lot of great resources online for folks to learn more, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Take a visit on our website, and if you're interested, sign up on there, and we'd love to sit down with you and meet with you and talk more about the opportunities that you may have of working with us in the carbon market.
And that website, agorocarbon.com, correct, Mark?
Yep.
Agorocarbon.com is where you can learn more information. You can check out their Carbon Farming Podcast as well, the Carbon Calculator, and more. Mark Warner with Agoro Carbon Alliance. Thanks for joining me today, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And that is going to do it for day one from the Farm Progress Show here in Decatur, Illinois. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be with our friends at Growmark FS, broadcasting in their lot. We'll be joined by some of the FS team. We'll also be joined by Matt Bennett from agmarket.net to talk about what is happening in the market trade. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us here today on Market Talk. I'm your host, Jesse Allen. So long. We'll talk to you tomorrow.